Ron, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Thank you.
So I'll back you up.
Al.
Press by yourself.
Al,
Yes?
you're raising your hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just exercising.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our September 2nd, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting. That's our 9 o'clock board briefing session. Let the record reflect that we have three commissioners are present. Commissioner French is on Zoom. Commissioner Jordan and Commissioner Cheney are here in the conference room. I think we will be joined shortly by Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Waldrop. It is the first day of school, so big day for all parents and kids alike and the school districts. So exciting. But we do have a quorum, so we are going to go ahead and just get moving. So we will start off with Tori.
Hi there, good morning. This is our fifth and final MCO agreement, and this one is with United Healthcare. It's part of our HCA reentry work. And again, it's what's going to allow us to bill Medicaid for some of our services in the detention center.
Okay, any questions for Tori? Since we've seen all these before.
Fifth and final, I did say.
That's right.
So if I could take 30 seconds to update you on something else, I just was talking to Scott about, we are still in the process of negotiating our contract, with juvenile rehabilitation for the housing of kids under their jurisdiction. This is mostly, we have house them pre-age, and then once they're sentenced into the state's jurisdiction, then that kicks in where they pay us for a daily bed rate. That has just been separated out into a new contract, detention only, starting in July. We do not have a contract at this point because we're not in agreement with the daily rate. We've been paid for years with 125. 2 years ago, it went to 150. And that has been between that a long time. So once that contract is broken out, we are now increasing that rate. They know that they need to increase that rate. They offered 225. The judge and I have been in meetings. They went up to 250 and we are holding firm on 350. And we are only one of 2 counties who have signed a contract for what they are proposing at 250. So I just wanted to make sure you know, because they did reach out to Chelan and say, will you house our Spokane kids until we can get a contract? That JCA reached out to me, was gonna meet with his VOCC, and they said, no, we need to not do that. So I don't think they're gonna take our kids, but I wanna let you know, we still don't have a contract signed. We will house the kids. We're gonna take care of the kids and we're just gonna give them a bill. But because this impacts other counties around the state, I wanted to make sure you all were aware of these conversations going on at these different rates.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Real quick on that, did you say that all the other counties have signed?
The majority have. Some did 250, which was their proposed rate. Did it for 2 years. And then some did it for just 1 year. And I believe it's Pierce and us who will not do that, because that's not even what our cost is. And so if they want to renegotiate in a year, they want to do this 250, knowing that, okay, they want to go back to the legislature and ask for more money for these. However, if we settle 250, that impacts future negotiations, is what the judge and I have been.
And how long does it usually take for that handoff? I mean, what's the typical?
It's not long, we're
Waiting
not,
period.
yeah, this is not tons of revenue, even at
Yeah.
the 350 on what we average of holding their kids, it would be approximately 17,000 a year. So they get them out very quickly because we give them notice, might be 2-3 days. But we may also house a kid under their jurisdiction on a parole, a youth who's in the community and maybe on a parole violation. House them briefly before they get out. So it's not tons of days.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Ben?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having us today to talk to you about an agreement with the United States Geological Survey for stream flow gauging. Amy Sumner is going to present that to you.
Okay, next slide, please. Morning. So Spokane County has been participating in a joint funding agreement with the USGS since 1999. These are 2-year agreements for the Spokane River at Green Street gauge and the Little Spokane River near Dartford gauge. The USGS does contribute funding to the Little Spokane gauge, but not the Spokane River gauge. It's unclear why that is. I think it's a historic thing, finding value in the Little Spokane River versus Little Spokane River versus Spokane River. But these agreements have been in place for a while, and this is pretty standard. About 70% of the Little Spokane gauge is paid by the county, whereas 100% of the Spokane River gauge is paid by the county. And the amounts are up there for your review. And just to show you where these gauges are in the next slide. This is the Spokane River at Green Street gauge, is the one to the south there, that red line. And this is an example of the data that we get. It's stream flow as well as stream height. And it allows us to calculate the flow of the Spokane River just downstream of our Spokane County Regional Water Reclamation Facility or wastewater treatment plants, just downstream of that outfall as part of our NPDES permitting. So if there's a regulatory tie with this stream gauge. And then the next slide is the Little Spokane River near Dartford gauge data, and that one you can see to the north. This particular stream gauge, in addition to the Little Spokane River at Dartford gauge, the SBRP aquifer comes into the Little Spokane River between those gauges. So having flow measurements at those two locations allows us to look at how the SBRP aquifer is contributing to the Little Spokane flows in that area. And that's why we believe it's important to keep that stream gauge going. I'll take any questions.
Funding for this that comes out of the APA.
Two different funding sources. The gauge in the Spokane River, because that is tied to our MVDES permit, is paid out of the wastewater fund.
Okay.
The APA on the Spokane.
Making sure that it would appear appropriate for it to come out of those funds, not the general fund, so. Very good.
I think, yeah, this will be on the agenda for next week. Session.
Great.
Thank you.
Morning, having us.
Good morning.
I'm Brandy Collier. I'm the Capital Projects Administrator. Today I brought with me Fayla Weaver. She's our Environmental Permits Coordinator. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about a covenant we're trying to set up with the Department of Ecology. We just recently completed our Bigelow Gulch Phase 2 project. That was a major reconstruction and realignment project. It did have some wetland impacts in that area of the project. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do all of the impact mitigation on site because that project had a lot of right-of-way impacts and it would have been undue burden to the residents next to the project. So we looked at, with the Department of Ecology, we looked at other opportunities for how we could mitigate those impacts. And so the recommendation came out that we would use this Fish Lake site that we purchased in 2020. That property, when we purchased it, it was a good site for this type of restoration. It has a stream on the Minnie Creek area and it had become pasture land. It's just southeast of our regional Fish Lake county parks. And it's right next to a trailhead and it's kind of bordered by the railroad properties. And so what it provides is opportunity to restore habitat. What we did is regraded the streams and did some plantings and provided some structures, some wooded stakes, some root wads and some mock beaver dams to allow that habitat to be replaced. We used about half the site. We hadn't been able to establish a bank prior to the project being in place. And so unfortunately, it's not a one-to-one. What we had to do is kind of a lesser exchange rate on that site. And so we used about half the property we purchased. The remainder of the property is still going to be available for future projects, or if money is available to develop as a bank that you can use as credit for project. You can go ahead and change the slide for me. So utilizing this site, part of the conditions with the Department of Ecology is that we're required to monitor the site annually for 10 years, as well as provide any repairs or improvements to the site as needed to maintain it. And then lastly, we need to record some type of protection for the site. So that's where this conservation easement comes into play. So we're looking at a perpetual deed to prevent any future buildings, commercial, industrial changes, or putting it back to agricultural land. And so we're still able to use the site for recreation, parks improvement, education. We can sell or transfer the site, but the covenant rests remain at this with the site when we do that. So, and this will be on next week's agenda as for signing. That's all I have for you today. So if you have any questions for us.
So for me, it's just, so we're doing this, so then as we have different road projects come up, we have this ability to use them.
We have about half
Water mitigation.
left, so we had to buy this property as part of our wetland mitigation for the broader impacts of the Bigelow Gulch corridor. So this, what we have done to date is specifically tied to the Bigelow Gulch mitigation impacts, but we have about half of the property left for a future project that we could then utilize this, further restore it, and use that as mitigation to some other impact we may have.
But just within the road department, since it's road department. Just, okay,
I mean, it could be, it's owned by the road fund, and it could be sold to a different fund if there was a need.
Yeah, you could set it up as a credit bank, which when we purchased the property, we were finding it challenging to find wetland banks out there privately anymore because they were getting very costly. As other, like the builders and other agencies are also trying to use those banks since we purchased this property with that opportunity. So it could be reestablished and then sold as a credit, basically, but there has to be funds in advance to be able to set it up as a wetland bank. And
we have a potential future needs for it.
yeah, there's
as
about
we do road
32
projects.
acres, yeah.
So, okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw Jeff. Good morning, everyone.
Going to start with the bonding discussion.
Okay.
If that works, we are hoping for a decision point today. So I don't know if you guys would like to wait for more to join us, or if we're good to go, we could do budget first.
I would think we would want Amber to participate in that.
So, yeah. you can
And
start
Josh.
The budget discussion.
So we'll start with budget discussion.
Do sales tax.
Extra copies.
Jason will kick us off with sales tax. Which is good news.
Jason, just keep coming with good news here.
Yeah, even I'm shocked, yeah. Okay,
That
so,
little ear cloud is no longer hanging over.
yeah, I hope it sustains. Okay, so August collections based on the economic activity for June filers. You can see on the graph, still stronger than we forecasted, which is great. It came out to about 7.5 million. The year-to-date collections are about 52.2 million, which is 1.7% over our forecast, or 3.7% over the same period for 2024. And you can see on the graph, actually July was really impressive, it was really strong. Even though August was still good, July really helped us out a ton. So if you scroll down, last month, the historical growth rate is still 3.9%. Last month, we were trending for our 12-month rolling average at about 2.3. But because it's a really strong month, we're now at 3.1%. So, which is really good. It's really close to our historical average. So we went from 2.3 to 3.1. Next slide. Change the format a little bit, but this page is the same. The accommodation and food services sector growth is 5.7% year over year. Construction, 7.3% year over year. And retail trade, 2.9% year over year. Again, attribute just a really strong May and June activity. Next slide. Non-residential building. Still really has 12.7% year over year growth. Residential building, 8.8% for the year to year growth. The building equipment contractors, is a new sector that we added in. Plumbing, HVAC, all the inside, like the guts of these buildings is up to 23.2%. And another sector that we added for this report, oh, sorry, next slide. Sorry, skipping ahead. On the very bottom, it says foundation and structure contractors. So that's the outside shells, the external part of the buildings. So if we see strong growth there, then we infer that the insides are gonna be good for the next one. It's 14.2% year over year. So for the exterior of the shells, that's, yeah, really strong growth. On the next slide. For accommodation and food sectors, we combined restaurants all into one group because they were trending pretty close to each other. So for restaurants, the year over year growth is at 5.9%. Would actually be a little bit higher than that, but we had last year it would actually be about flat. Last year we had a big drop due to some reporting issues in March of last year. One of the businesses was reporting the wrong area, but so it's probably a little bit flat. There's special food services, that's doing well. That's things like catering events, food trucks, and like weddings, things like that. Drinking and alcoholic beverage places, it's the only one that's down. It's down about 2.1%, which is interesting because on the next slide, you'll see something interesting as well. The traveler accommodation is up 6.3%. On the next slide, for retail trade, you know, large grouping, we combined automobile dealers into just one group. So this has new car sales, used car sales, motor vehicle dealers for like mobile homes and boats and whatnot. So year over year, growth is down about 0.5%. So pretty flat. Beer, wine, and liquor retailers. I was just curious to look at that subsector. They're up 19.1%. So for the restaurants that focus mainly on liquor sales, they're down, but liquor sales at home for people drinking properly at home, that's significantly 19.1%, which I found particularly interesting. Electronics and appliance retailers, we added that as another sector. Yeah, typically people put off some of those purchases till they kind of need to get them. That's up 7.9%. And furniture and home furnishing retailers down just a hair at 3.7%. Next one, next slide. Clothing retailers were up 2.3%. Again, somewhat discretionary. Department stores, these next sectors I thought were pretty interesting. Department stores are down 11.5%. Those are like the brick and mortar stores. So other miscellaneous retailers, these are retailers like Amazon, some other places like that. It's up 7.9%. It's also our strongest subsector. So where you can see like department stores, the taxable our collections, probably about 7,000 to 10,000, whereas on the other miscellaneous retailers, you're looking at 500,000 and 600,000 collections sometimes. And then the last subsector that we added, warehouse clubs and super centers, also a really significant revenue generator for us. Pretty flat at about 1/3%. Those are things like Costco's and Walmart's and things like that. So all in all, the next slide, a really strong sales tax report. Year to date, again, about 1.9 million over our actual collections for 2024. Okay, we're trending right now at 3.1% over where we were last year.
We budgeted for a 0.
Yes, we did.
It was a zero from last year's budget. But last year, we had forecasted a 2% increase. We only had a 1% increase. So we were flat from the budget, but it's actually 1% higher than the actuals. We said we go up 2, we only went up 1, and we budgeted from the 2 that we thought we would.
So for the 2025 budget, what was the assumption we put into the budget? Zero. Okay.
Zero from the
Yes,
budget,
you're
and
correct.
yes.
Yes. I know, it's always complex that way.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, 0. So
At this
much better than
point,
0.
at this point, we would be comfortable bumping this year's budget by 2%. There's really no reason in our mind to do so, because you're not looking at spending it. We would need to do it if there was an expenditure side to it. But unless you're planning on spending it, it'll just fall the fund balance.
Right, for
Additional money coming
2025,
For
correct.
25, yes.
And then as we look at 2026, we initially budgeted 0, but we're saying we're changing our assumptions.
Yes, when we get into the budget, you'll see we have
Get to that.
some good news in that regard.
We'll go into more detail when we get into like that, for the budget rollout.
Okay. Excited?
Yeah,
The budget?
All right, Ron, will you start with that folder view when you clicked on the link? So Friday, late afternoon,
About
Sure.
3:58.
we left
We were
about
glad to leave.
4 o'clock. You should have received an email from me that contained a link to a 2026 budget BOCC shared folder. When you click into that, it takes you into the internet view of the shared folder. You can also click kind of up on that middle bar there, add shortcut to my files, and that will save it. So if you just go into the yellow file folder explorer on your computer, you can find this shared folder there as well. So that can save a lot of time when you're looking for it if you add that shortcut to your folders. And then everything in that folder is where we'll kind of go every time we talk about the budget for
Can we just ask you for it every time we want it?
every time. More than welcome to do that as well. Ron saved it as a favorite on his internet quick favorites bars as well. So however you like to find those, we have a couple different options and we're happy to help you on your physical computers as well. Perfect. Because sometimes that's the easiest.
Have options.
Yes. But in that folder is the 2026 preliminary general fund budget. So Ron, if we can go into that, yes, download, thank you. And as we finalize, we were waiting on one more confirmation for the schedule of presentations that will be put into the shared folder. As well as we've saved space in there for all department presentations. We'll make sure those get in your folder as well as in your weekly agendas. So you can find them multiple ways throughout the process if you ever need to refer back to that information. Alrighty, and our 2026 preliminary budget. If you'll go to the next page.
I know these numbers will be small, so you might want to pull them up on your laptop.
So after all the departments submitted their revenue assumptions, and we reviewed property taxes and sales taxes, which we'll get into a little more depth here in another couple pages. We have a preliminary 2026 revenue budget of $266 million. That is a little more than we'd anticipated in our forecast, which is positive, primarily driven by sales tax increases, which we'll cover here in a moment. And then the expense side of the budget is sitting right about $259.5 million for the general fund as a full roll-up. Very minimal capital is included in this budget at this time. So there are still decisions that we'll work through the commissioners with in the coming months. knowing that there are a lot of moving parts and pieces to the budget before we finalize in December. If you'll go to scroll down a little bit, Jeff needs to talk about the FTEs.
This just shows your general fund FTEs. This is only the general fund. When we talk FTEs, we're usually talking system-wide, including non-general fund. This will show you the FTE counts. Year over year, there has been a fair amount of attrition or empty positions removed from the budget this year. Primarily as we clean up to go in the workday, and then some of it is for budgets.
Alrighty, next page. This is a roll-up of the general fund agencies, it's revenues and expenses for all agencies. The same numbers as on the previous page, just represented in a different way. And as a reminder, we did combine administrative services. That now includes the grants budget, grants office, budget office, CEO, purchasing, and communications teams as one large administrative services agency.
When the purchasing director left and we combined purchasing and grants, historically grants was already part of what was called executive management. Purchasing was its own budget, but since they're in the same place now, we brought purchasing in and we renamed executive management administrative services. We had talked about that a month, 6 weeks ago here, but the only substantive change in there beside the name is purchasing being added in, since grants and purchasing is now together.
So we combined grants and purchasing.
Yes, when Melanie Dickinson left and the purchasing aspect was combined with grants reporting up to Arnold, the mail part and the PMOs were put under Tessa on the budget side as a cost saving measure. So we have one less management person there, and the duties were divided between Tessa and Heather. That was a decision made. Well, Melanie had let us know back in February, give or take, that she was likely going to step down at the end of the school year. She had another job opportunity, a little more family life balance with kids at home. And so we had worked on that with her during the whole transition period. Slowly moving stuff to Tessa and Heather. So it was a pretty well executed transition.
And to be cognizant of budget savings for the 2026 budget year, it was determined it was in the best interest of
It's one way that
finances.
we solved on those budgets for 26 to do the 7% cut there was that attrition, and grants had one person who had traded out that we also did not replace based on 2 other hires recent who are extremely strong. Very good at their job. Heather felt that she could get along without that person. And those 2 attritions are the basis of solving administrative services overall budget.
I said, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just hearing it, so.
Ron, if you'll just scroll down a little bit to the bottom here. On the very bottom of this page, we have a line for a capital expense. So as I said earlier, there are not many capital purchases at all built into the general fund. If we were to add any capital budget, we have a line there so we can see that represented cleanly for the 2026 budget, as well as if the commissioners decide to use any fund balance. We do know we've discussed a use of fund balance for the liability contribution for 2026. About 4 million was discussed earlier. We just want to leave space so when we kind of ink that in through the budget process,
You'll see the
we'll
numbers
see
coming
it.
together.
Tie out a little nicer for us.
You will see you're gonna have a lot of groups come through with some different asks over the next 6 weeks. There is some capacity there to buy back, for lack of a better term. Some of the draft cuts suggested to meet the target budgets.
Question. So back to the original kind of forecasting we did, there's a $20 million expected deficit. That assumed 5 million of capital, correct?
I think it's
Roughly. Okay, so looking at this picture. What is part of the reason that the expenses are down is we directed the departments to give us flat budgets. So we'll learn about the trade-offs of that when we get the presentations. What is the in your mind, the relationship between the capital need that was forecasted? I know this is all be decisions, but I'm just trying to get your take on it at this point versus the potential to buy things back. I mean, is it like $7 million potential total looking at right now?
4.5 additional revenue in sales tax. We have a sheet coming up that will show this. At this point, sales tax, also considering the valley passed the tax measure recently, so that portion. The city passed a tax measure last year. We realized 9 months of it in 25. We'll realize all 12 months in 26. So there's the growth that we're projecting is based on the base of like our current, but then we have these additional coming in. So there's about 4.5 million there. There's some non-departmental budget changes in our favor that
There
we'll be
was
going over.
a one-time capital allocation in the 25 budget for non-departmental that would be, is a decision point again for the commissioners. So that budget came in under target, which we'll see if Ron, you go to the next slide real quick.
So just can I clarify real quick, when it says on the front page, total revenue budgeted 266.2 million. Then the expense is 259 point something. Is the 7 million or 6.5 million? You're saying there may be more?
No, that's
Or
That's
it's
it.
incorporated within.
That's
Okay,
your,
all right.
yep,
4.5 million of that is
Those things.
the additional
Okay,
sales
that's fine.
tax. And then there'll be a revenue chart will show you revenue by revenue when our other pieces come in.
Okay, thank you. That was my clarification.
perfect. And then this is another view of the general fund agency roll-up. It shows the assigned target that each agency received, where they submitted their budget, the difference if they were over or under submitted. If they are under submitted, they're shown as a negative in that column. And then if the budget office went in to go do a target adjustment. So we would reduce them to get them to their assigned target as directed.
So generally speaking, if you see a positive number, the third middle column there, they came in over budget. You see the exact same number in the fourth column. We have reduced it at this point, and that will be a board decision, whether you feel that's something that's a priority. One we want to call out here is elections. They came in over and we did not reduce them. We don't have a choice on elections. And the non-presidential congressional year is our most expensive budget. The way the budgets work, all of the statewide, our statewide governor, secretary of state, all of those people, they are on the presidential cycle. All of our half of our county commissioners and all of our other electeds are on the midterm, so to speak, with the calendar. So we have a bigger percentage share of candidates on the even year midterms. So, and then the state also now reimburses for the presidential election. That was a deal that was made in the legislature recently when we had to start paying for the return postage. They're paying for some of the presidential costs to offset that. So at the county level, while the presidential year might be our biggest budget or our biggest election, it's not our most expensive. So that is one we have just left. Randy came back last week. a huge help, giving us extra help as we're putting these numbers together. He crunched the elections based on his knowledge, completely separate, and came up with about 2% of where they are. So we're just recommending we accept that one because we don't think there's really a choice. And that's probably the main call out on this one.
Yep, the only other one was that non-departmental, the one time there's a negative, it was under submitted by $1.2 million. We're comfortable with the way the non-departmental budget was submitted. That includes most of your debt service payments, so that's
It's another chunk of savings for next year. We'll talk to the outside agency.
let's go through an example.
Okay.
Yep. Let's actually go ahead and go to the next slide we're on. We have our general fund property tax estimates here. Starting with the 2025 levy, new construction estimate of about $1.4 billion of assessed value. That equals about $992,000, just shy of $1 million there.
That's estimate working with the assessor. The official numbers hit the 15th of this month.
And then when we distill our kind of assessed value estimate down, we're looking at a levy rate of approximately 71 cents per $1,000 of value.
Coming.
And then on the right-hand side, you can see the comparison of the 2025 levies to what we are estimating for 2026. In 2025, we did not earmark any of our general levy to go to the Veterans Services Fund for the year. We have plugged that back in for 2026, so that is the primary change on that side. It is formulaic. There is a minimum of 1 1/8 cent per $1,000 of assessed value is how we arrived at that $1 million number.
When the veterans levy has a large enough fund balance, we're not required to take it in a given year. Last year, they had a large enough fund balance. The board opted not to send the money to the veterans to help to veteran services. That's not really board. They opted to keep it where it was because there was enough funding already there. There's a better word choice. And this year, that option would still be on the table mathematically, but I would say it's barely there. Their fund balance has come down. We would not recommend keeping all of it, but you might look at keeping a portion. And the way the law reads, that isn't up to. So you could say we're going to send 50% of it there and keep, or 25, 75, whatever you chose. Last year, because of fund balance, no new revenue was sent over to that account.
And then the next line in our reductions to the general fund property tax collection levy is the mental health developmental disabilities apportionment. That is 1/4 cent per $1,000 of assessed value, equaling about $2.4 million that goes to support mental health and developmental disabilities funds. Justin Johnson programs those dollars out. And we have historically split the funds 50-50 between mental health and developmental disabilities. However, that is completely discretionary. It could all go to one, all to the other. It's just required mathematically to send that much to those two programs off the top of the general levy. And then also reducing the 2026 estimate are the TIF revenues that come off the top and go into different funds. Currently, these are if all TIFs were left in place for 2026 as they currently are in 2025. When we flip to the next page here in a second, we'll see that we have the Liberty Lake TIF expiring this year as a decision point throughout the next few months that would potentially change these figures, depending on the action the board takes.
I think we've set the public hearing, so, yeah, so we do need to make decisions here shortly. Yeah.
And then, yeah, as those decisions are made, they'll inform back on all this information and we'll keep it updated based on that. So Ron, if you'll go ahead and go to
Just
the,
a curiosity in looking at the levy rate. Do we know when did the 1% limit come into effect? Do we know that?
2000.
Six of the 2000.
I was working in the legislature. That's the only session I worked. So if the voters had approved it in '99, it was, or can't, the voters had approved it. The courts had thrown it out, I think, based on the two, more than one reason thing. It was so popular, though, there was a significant backlash from the public, and the legislature voted it in. And that would have been the 2000 session that it was voted in.
Right. Okay.
So it probably didn't take effect until '01 to the counties.
alrighty, next page, Ron. And then currently, the 2026 budget does not include a 1% property tax increase, the use of any banked capacity, does not have any additional information yet on the Liberty Lake TIF decision. So all the options are on the table and outlined here. Choices 1, 2, 3 can all be made independently. Choices 4A and 4B, if you choose to use general fund banked capacity, that informs on your levy road shift amount. If you choose to do the entire road levy shift, you have no general fund banked capacity left. So 4A and B,
Subtract 4A from 4B if you do 4B.
there is a maximum amount between the two choices. So we'll keep kind of working through and talking and discussing that as we get closer to property tax decisions, but we wanted at least the current mathematical estimates to be outlined here for you. Question.
On the Liberty Lake TIF, is that not renewing it? Or does that reflect a reduced?
441 is what was provided to Liberty Lake in '25. It'd be expected to be slightly higher in '26 if it was on expiring, like 460, I think is the estimate. So as you've talked like maybe leaving 200,000 there. So then you would be recapturing 241. So it's another up to. You can leave any amount up to the full amount, be the decision begins.
And so there's the decision to renew or not renew. Decision is to have a fixed amount, right, or to have a variable amount. That's the decision.
And what the amount is?
Well, if we do a fixed amount, we say we're gonna set it at 200 or 250 or 400. If we do a variable amount, we say we're gonna look at that and adjust it annually. But we just have to do that in time to ensure that it gets to the treasurer's office and the specialist office, so they can do all the changes they need to do. So I think they're saying it'd be easier for it to be a set amount versus a variable amount. And I'm not sure where I'm out there on that.
So those are the
And even-
decision points.
Even if it's variable, we would then still have to determine what we want that fixed amount to be each year.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Try to give you all this fairness.
Yes, option 1 could have any kind of color to it that is ultimately decided on. Alrighty, next page, Ron. Sales tax, the exciting stuff.
It's me. Oh, 30 AM. Okay, so on this.
good news.
Yeah, that's good. I know.
I missed this.
I know, it was really good. It's a little bit hard to read, but you'll see in the column, there's what we have under 2025 is what we budgeted for 2025. That's the column to the left of that little yellow highlighted fields. So budgeted for 2025 was 79.2 roughly. Right now, like I said earlier, we're trending about 3.1% for our rolling average. We're projecting just to finish the year, because we do anticipate a little bit of a slowdown, and to err on the side of being slightly conservative with our revenue forecast, we put in just a 2% growth. So it could be higher, it could be lower, but 2% we felt is pretty safe. If we were to finish the year 2025 at 2% higher than we budgeted, it would be an increase to our base year of about 1.6 billion. So our jump off point, this is probably the best term for 2025 then, instead of being what we budgeted at 79.2, our jump off point would be more like 80.8. And then for 2026, if we are forecasting a 2% growth over 2025, the figures on that 2026 column would be where we would land. So that's what gets you to the 83.1. You notice there's a public, two other rows we added, so public safety for Spokane. And that's what Jeff was saying, for 2025, we're gonna realize 9 months of that sales tax benefit. For 2026, we'll get the entire year, which is right about $1 million. And then for the public safety sales tax for Spokane Valley, based on the figures that they provided, and then we did a check on DOR data, about 450,000, could be slightly higher.
We have not included the new sales tax on professional services. We are still not even completely confident on what's in and what's out. Tax, there's no historical data to look at. So we do know there will be additional revenue coming in. However, from a budgeting standpoint, there's gonna be a lot of expenses going down also. So we think that could be somewhat of a wash. All of our extra help at the fair, for example, extra help is a taxable category now. Last year, we had just shy of $100,000, so it'll be $10,000 roughly in taxes we'll pay on that. Private security appears to be taxable, so all of our security checkpoints around the campus, 9% increase. The legal office has done a memo written a lot of the criminal justice stuff. How are you gonna deal when the sheriff's department goes out and they are hired to provide the extra services, and you have to charge and collect the sales tax on those? So it's a complicated one. And so bottom line, there could be some additional net revenue from that also. The goal for the revenue, I guess, having the positive side, financially speaking. But next year is going to be a significant learning curve for how it's going to impact our budget. And we'll provide some baseline numbers moving forward in the 27, 28.
And I would think
But-
it's gonna take Department of Revenue a while to figure out too, who's supposed to be getting that and all that, so.
It is one more reason we feel this somewhat significantly increased sales tax number for 26 is justified based on where things are right now. Jason had crunched numbers Randy's first day when he came back 2 Fridays ago to start helping us for just a few days. It was amazing having him back, right? He crunched the numbers and came in like 50,000 of where Jason was. It was quite close. His independent analysis, just looking at economic data, trends that other outside groups they're forecasting, and plugging it in how we think that would hit our local market here in Spokane County.
So you did a good job. Very proud.
He was very proud that Randy came very close to him.
He still has.
And so, but that is a choice for you guys to make on the budget. whether you're agreeing with this analysis or not, but if you do, we are looking at. Not enough to close the gap, but it takes, what was a $20 million challenge down to maybe more of a $15 million challenge. A lot of that's already been closed with the budgets that have come in. Oh, it's actually been closed, but some of them will be coming in talking about the service level impacts and why they feel it shouldn't be closed quite that much. And so those will be decision points over the next few weeks.
But this revenue number of $83 million is incorporated into the budget roll-up figures.
That's our working assumption, unless you as a board direct us to change it for some reason.
Well, that's good news. Just, did you check in with maybe STA or city or, I mean, are their numbers also looking similar?
Have not,
The
might
city
be
uses
good to do
these
that.
state numbers, right?
typically, that's.
They plug in whatever the state.
What the
plugs in.
state's projecting for sales tax increase? Okay.
And the city also went to a biennium budget, so they're only doing a quick budget check-in this year
Right,
for next year, so they aren't doing a full budgeting cycle like we are.
anyway, just might be interesting to see what STA is projecting, because they're so sales tax heavy.
That's a good deal.
It looks, I mean, it seems like you're doing your analysis and, if Randy came in and agreed, then that's good, you've had two opinions.
The past couple years, we've been trending, it's like less than 2% off our revenue projections, so we've been
Really,
Very close.
really close, yeah.
not on what because.
So I don't know if Commissioner French or Commissioner Kearns, you know what STA is projecting for their sales tax increase?
Yeah, I think for next year, we're projecting, I think it's 1%, but I'm going from memory. But it's very, very low. We're very, very cautious.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my recollection as well.
But what you're saying is, we've been pretty close to our projections
Yes.
in the past, so.
Yeah.
Randy's time in the budget office has been a 1 to 2% variance.
You always want to try to be a little conservative versus not on the revenue side.
Randy felt, as did Jason, that we still are on the conservative side, particularly with the new taxes, the voter approved taxes and the legislative approved taxes.
If we go to a 2% assumption.
Correct. That if we were just doing year over year on base, we probably would have come in more at a 1.5 or maybe even a 1. But when you look at the valley's vote, the city's vote, the fact we only got 9 months versus 12 months. And then Randy felt we were good without the professional sales tax, professional services sales tax, and that was just more of a cherry on top when we see what that brings in, financially speaking.
We talked earlier this year, wanting to see some longer trend lines before any recommendation back to the board. And given we're trending at 3.1 right now, we're still being a little on the conservative side at 2. But I think we're at a point right now where the team would recommend amending the forecast and building a 2% in for 2026.
Off of a 2% increase of 20.
When do you think we'll know by the end of the year what the outlook is for that professional services sales tax?
It's due to be collected in
Okay.
We'll get the collections at the very end of December. We first, right about Christmas time, we'll see what October activity was. Not too late to incorporate the 26 budget, but that's when we'll get our first look.
Okay.
There is possibility we might have to do some budget adjustments next year if we see higher outflows because we're paying some big chunks of taxes. So it might just create some more budget amendments next year as we work through it.
There could just be a wash. The additional revenues might just cover what our additional expenses are, but at least we'll start to see what the revenue uptick might be. be by the end of the year, but the expense was more challenged to quantify.
Page, Ron. FTEs. FTE history going back to 2019. This first page is the entire general fund split into two different categories. The top category being public safety. So you can see your FTE investment there versus the rest of the general fund in the bottom chunk. And then the next page has all your other funds. And this data was updated as of the end of August.
The bottom of the next page, you'll see the roll up. Looking for the total. We combined the vacant with filled for you to see total authorized.
Alrighty. Next page, Ron.
Can I pause you on that real
Yep.
quick? So the change from 2024 to 2025 at 831,
79.
and that's reflecting some of the work you've been doing to deauthorize long vacant positions
Anybody
primarily.
who is vacant, both vacant and not even solicited for at least 6 months. So they haven't even posted the position to try to hire it. We did a bunch of cleanups, probably half of the 80 were truly just cleanups. You know, it got moved from one position to another position years ago, but the old position was never taken out. And then about 22 of the positions are positions that were funded and filled when the year started, but different departments, whether it's workday related, or some of they have figured out how they could do the work without that person, particularly as they look to reduce budgets, meeting the target of 7% expense reduction. So roughly a quarter of them were funded and filled in January. The rest are a cleanup of some sort.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner Kurtz.
The large drop in public works of 49 and the large increase in environmental services of 50, are those related? Just I know, I mean, being so one being 49, one being 50, are those related? Was it a shift from one to the other or something?
The increase is when we brought the transfer station employees in-house.
Okay.
The drop was a lot of cleanup.
Okay.
And you will see the treasurer's office reduction is also correlated to the environmental services going up on the transfer station employees.
Yeah, and people who are receiving the funds, the tellers out there.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, because those employees transition from treasurer's office to environmental.
Yeah. Split between them two.
It was emailed to you
Oh,
Friday afternoon.
Friday
Oh,
From
not
myself.
not the sales tax that was emailed this morning.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
there's
I've
a lot
done
of,
that.
sorry, I'm just trying to.
It's fine, just.
This whole,
Yes, I know.
this pack is like 150, 200 pages. It's in your inbox.
Packet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't read that all over the weekend.
We thought, if somebody was really just excited about budgets like we are, they could, spend all Labor Day weekend reviewing them. We didn't want to think about it all Labor Day weekend. Alrighty, next page is a compilation of all of the other funds. This is a 2-page document starting with special revenue funds. There will be more details coming for all of these funds later this week. We've got the general fund done as a priority. But it has all of your special revenue funds on the first page, and then second page has debt service construction, enterprise funds, and internal service funds. And you'll get presentations from various other fund groups this year throughout more into the month of October, I believe. And then the next page, Ron, we'll go through one example of a department. So this is administrative services, alphabetically hits first. Every single agency in your packet, everything is bookmarked as well for easy navigation. Has an agency summary that has the revenue profile for that agency, as well as their expense roll-ups, showing salaries and wages, employee benefits, supplies, services, any other expenses they may have. As well as a brief FTE history at the bottom of the page. And then the next page or several pages in some groups have all of the line item details. And so that has every piece of detail you might want to see about some of these budgets. We did have to combine data from two systems. So if things have some different expense category numbers, just know we're trying to merge old system with new system.
The
But-
historical data is all come in at Questica, the 25 data is all come in at Workday now. So that's just a reality this year.
Trying to marry things up. And then every group on the next page, one more, Ron. If they submitted any actions taken to realize their 2026 target budget, they have forms that look similar to this included in their section. So in the administrative services section, there's one for the grants and contract specialist that was eliminated. One for a reduction in the KSPS County Spotlight contribution. And then the purchasing director position that was eliminated, helping administrative services reach their target budget. And so that's kind of a breakdown of the book.
So I'm gonna quickly pass around the schedule for the next few Mondays. So we'd recommend for time management, you'll see like next Monday morning, we have risk, the medical fund, HR, ME coming in. If you quickly just click on the tabs for those, you can go look through those budgets if you want to do prep before they come in. And in the afternoon, you'll see we have parks in the planning department. So to give you kind of the next 6 weeks to go over the budget, would recommend looking at the schedule week to week, and then that would be the budgets that would be coming forward. The ones in yellow are things that have changed since you saw this last, bringing the health district in. We moved facilities and IT to accommodate that. Public defense, some of their key people were at a conference, so we had to move them to accommodate timing, which is why we have an open spot on the 29th. We did talk with Justin again this morning. On the back side, you'll see the one in green building, Jordan. Jordan Neal. He'll be confirming later today. He just want to do a couple double checks. So our feedback from Jordan and building. Pending any last minute changes, this is pretty set. We will add this to the website, so you can always just go
Folder, yep.
the folder, you can go check on it to see it in real time.
And we will also work to get this document up on the budget page on the public facing website. If the public wanted to refer to the documents, they're riveting.
And if you have questions ahead, like you see whatever group is coming next week, if you want us to do a little sleuthing before they actually come in, let us know a few days early and we can ask questions and try to have people prepped so you're getting your answers in real time. We can always bring information back after based on the conversation also. But the next roughly 8 Mondays, you'll be spending a lot of time with us in here. Any new departments coming through.
Well, you guys have done a great job getting everything prepared and getting everyone organized. So thank you for all your hard work to get the preliminary budget out and everything organized for us. Thank you.
This is just a jumping off.
Yes, I know it's been a lot of work too. And I'm sorry I came in a little late this morning. Did you get adjusted in, so what you sent us, we were just looking through and scanning. Did you get all the budgets from the departments adjusted in there? Cause there were some departments that had
You'll see a sheet, if you see
Not
the same
filled
number,
everything out correctly, but not on purpose. They just had.
those were fixed.
Okay.
And
Wanna
you'll
be
see the groups that came in over, you'll see a corresponding reduction. They'll come in and make the case why they want that money back. That's a decision for the board. Priorities there. I don't know if you're here for the election conversation, but we are accepting the election dollars because we just have to do that. And that's the expected cost of elections next year. So that's the one you will see that's over. And that's the
Okay.
reason why.
And in all fairness, Auditor Dalton did submit her other budgets under target,
About
so
75,
that was
76 under to
a
make up for
benefit
some.
as well.
Any other questions on this before we pivot to the bonding? So as you look through it, if you have questions, give us a call, pop in, you know where we are. We're happy to answer questions or get more information as.
Real
Next
quick.
week, you'll see we have quite a few groups coming in.
Just real quick on the outside agencies. What is when we gave a range of considerations, I assume?
Put in the most conservative, the lowest. So
the
you will.
least cut.
The
or-
least cut,
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
And for example, GSI was between 25 and 83, we put in 25. Health district was between $500,000 and $1 million, we put in half.
Okay.
So we put in the least amount, and when you look at outside agencies, they're on there's one called outside agencies. But you'll see economic development is separate, which includes GSI, and you'll see conservation district as
WSU.
Cooperative extension also has its own budget line. So when you look for, you are at over $1 million in reductions. But on outside agencies, you're gonna see 600 and some thousand. Because the GSI and the cooperative extension aren't included, they're just in a different line item.
Okay, thank you.
And there are, details within their kind of bookmark section in the book, as well as outside agencies that we requested to submit an application through the grants and contracts team, just so we have some kind of parameters around the dollars that we allocate to them. They are in a folder within the overall shared folder, and it's called outside agencies applications, I believe, or something. So you can find all those reference materials there as well.
So the outside agency grant submissions, that folder?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And then the agency presentations are what
That's what these departments will be submitting, and we'll,
and you can
as
look
they
ahead.
send them in there as soon as we get
Got
them.
it. Thank you.
Good to move bonding conversation.
Yes.
So you had requested as a board a one-page roll-up of everything in one place. So the paper got bigger, but we accommodated. Needed a little bit more real estate to make it work. So talking through the infrastructure side, the boilers, the switch gears, all of the clean buildings and antiquated. You guys know what that entails. Starting the blue box in the top corner. What we were directed was to look at a 35 million that we would fully pay for the infrastructure with bonding, which gives us that 2.7, almost 2.8 million in debt service. We're also looking at the Shrek building, which they requested 20 million, that would be paid for by Shrek. Total bonding of 55 million. What we're recommending is that you pay for it out of REIT. On any given year, you could change where you paid for it. You pay for it with fund balance or something else. But we have done this with a REIT calculation. So the top of the REIT chart, you'll see our beginning fund balance. In 26, we merge it into one, because just by way of reminder, REIT 1 and REIT 2 can be used interchangeably now. So starting in 26, we would have a 13.3 million fund balance to start. We do expect some recapture from 25, but most of those will be projects that we rolled ahead. So if there's a recapture, there'll be an expense against it. We are projecting kind of a flat year with REIT. So the same, we're on track for our budget of 7 million total between REIT 1 and REIT 2. They are the same rate, so it's 50-50. You'll see over the next 5 years, 6 years here in green, we are projecting a slow growth. I think we're being quite conservative. It's not until 2031 that we're projecting more than what actually came in 2024. So I think we should be able to meet those. The expenditure section, you will see all the current bonding. So our legal obligations against REIT to pay current debt. In red, you'll see where we added in what would be at a 35 million rate over 20 years. And then got our subtotal there. You'll see the next green bar. If the board chose $4.5 million in projects each year, that would leave you with, you'll see over years the fund balance is going down. But in 2032, you'll see the debt service of the fairgrounds drops off. In 2034, the scraps debt service drops off, bringing back about 675,000 per year going forward. You could always do more or less in the projects. If REIT comes in at a healthier pace than we're suggesting here, but this just gives you an idea of, we have a huge REIT budget in 2025. Historically, 4 or 5 million has been more. That's why we plugged in the 4.5. So that shows that side where we would be. Any questions? So then I can move over to the technology funding side. You'll recall you had the auditor, assessor, treasurer, ITN, I believe it was just last week, that talked about the Aumentum software package. So if you look at the yellowish color on the right-hand side, their budget was 11.7 million. That included a very healthy 20% contingency, as well as some ranges, and that's budgeted at the high end of the range. So we are hopeful that we learned from ERP, where we had to come back and ask for funding. We are hopeful that we've captured everything here. We won't be coming back. Never predict the future, but that's our goal here. So if we bond 35 million, the 5 million that's already been spent from, you recall last December when we did the ARP changes, there's that extra 10 million that's now general fund. We'd reimburse the 5 million from the bond. So you would have that full 10 million. It's not exactly close. If you put 10 million against the Aumentum, and we're suggesting they're in the recording at the same time, they tie together, that leaves you 1.7 in implementation, plus the 600 for the recording. If you go down to the bottom under the purple, where it says new license fee, general fund balance, road shift, just kind of showed a cash flow that would need to be covered. So in 2026, Aumentum is over several years, so you don't need all the money in that first year. We We need about 600,000 to cover the recording software. In 27, we need about another 850,000 to keep on track with the big Momentum cash out. 28 would be our bigger year because the first 2 years of software subscription is embedded in the implementation cost. And you'll recall they had a certain amount that we've been paying for our current software. There was a delta between our current software packages and what the Momentum would be. That starts at about 625,000, and it was increasing their projection at about 75,000 a year. So for example, the new license fee that will be coming through the auditor's office at about $1 million a year is what Auditor Dalton is projecting. That, if we were to dedicate that revenue to the technology project, it would cover all this. You know, you'd have 400,000 left over in 26, another 150,000 left over in 27. That excess revenue plus the $1 million in 28 would cover the big nut there. And then it would keep covering the annual subscriptions for quite a few years. So what we would suggest, looking at spending on general fund, when we said road shift last week, we did not, what we would say, receive a warm response from the table. And so based on that, we are looking at suggesting the license fee get dedicated to the technology between that $10 million pile of money we have. In that license fee, the Momentum and the recording would be covered for the next decade. There would also be a little bit extra from the license fee if you wanted to look at some of the more affordable packages that prosecutor, defenders, and Jewel, and that Jim's Case Man,
PD
PD
They've all got these
Man,
great names.
Carpel.
Prosecutor by cartel.
There's about another $1 million total.
So those need to be updated too, is what you're saying.
Yeah, these
So
are
this
all.
$1 million fee this $1 million collected each year. Approximately
Could cover
be
those. over the
dedicated
next
to those
few
different
years.
technologies. Okay. There's no restriction on how you use those
It
funds.
is straight general fund money.
Okay.
The auditor has requested that her recording software could get covered in it. That was a very reasonable request.
This is that new fee.
This is a new fee. The
Okay.
majority of
Non-recurring.
it goes to the state. But what will remain in the county as a general fund, as far as flexibility, is about $1 million a year. Vicky did not think it wouldn't go up as fast as inflation. It would go up more with population growth. Because it is based on vehicles coming to the county. So it will be a flatter fee than one that goes up maybe 3 or 4% a year with average inflation.
And that additional $1 million is currently already baked into the budget estimates.
Oh.
So it is a charge for service and it is already included in the 2026 estimate.
So at 259 versus 266, if you green money this, $1 million of that.
We'll
gap.
have $1 million in capital that we would shave
The
off.
bottom of the page where we had capital, it was nothing, it would go in there and adjust that. So that is what we see as the best avenue option forward if you're going to greenlight all of this. Also in your packets is a 1-pager from Shrek. I think Scott can probably walk through.
Yeah.
And this, we submitted it last week, Scott, so it's not the one you sent this morning.
Oh, sorry, I can explain it.
So where's that one?
That
It's
one
in your
is
packet,
through
it's wrong,
agenda.
you pulled it, so that one.
The actual
Yep.
briefing.
Can I pause you before you go on to that? So back on the technology funding, orangey box, 10 million is the ARP capacity. Help me understand, 5 million was already spent. Wasn't that on the clean buildings?
With
So how does that?
bonding, you're allowed to
go back?
essentially supplant and go back within a 18-month-ish period.
Reimburse yourself.
If you green light the bonding on the timeline we're looking at, we would reimburse that with the bonding, taking that 10 million back to 10 million. It currently sits closer to 5.
And then the 2.7 is the interest. Two
That would
point
be-
794.
That would be the annual debt service.
Oh, annual debt service. And then can you just remind me on the, you're suggesting paying for that with REIT, paying it back with REIT. And the fund balance goes down, down, down. Does it continue to go down?
It-
To be,
As we, if we would keep going out
Yeah.
and if we keep increasing REIT by 100,000 every year or two, at some point they cross. But yes, it will go down a couple more years. But you'll see the fairgrounds ends in 32 and scraps ends in 34. So that would be about the 675,000. So I'd say by 34, you would catch up. If REIT keeps going up upwardly as this line does, and you get both of those knocked off the payment schedule.
That's assuming we do the $4.5 million each year to capital out of REIT, which is an S that is vested too.
You don't
Oh, I
have to do, and even if you decided to do this with REIT,
is that,
you're not legally locked in
Yeah.
with REIT every year.
right?
You could decide in 2030, you're gonna pay it with fund balance this year, because you have a different use of REIT and the fund balance available. You can pay for it with any source of funds. We're just saying this is a source of funds that we can identify today.
And then, I think you said this, but the 4.5 million is kind of the standard capital allocation out of REIT. Is that what you said?
It felt like a more affordable
It's an estimate.
allocation. It is an estimate, yes, based on, there could be one big project that is 5 million. That's the better investment in 1 year than 4.5 million perhaps.
Okay.
Just a placeholder for now, as the
Yep.
board hasn't made your decisions on which other capital projects you want to invest in.
For a period of time, REIT spending was quite low and the fund balance was building. And then some larger projects were identified since the fund balance had built up. So it's kind of a hard one to ping based on the historical decisions. Been made, but this would
But you're-
allow.
Yeah, but to your point, 1 year, we maybe decide to pay the debt service out of fund balance or reserves. And if there's a really compelling REIT project or take a portion of each or whatever, as long as we have a.
You just have to have the money to pay for it. The bank you're paying doesn't care whether it comes out of the savings account or the checking account. As long as the transfer is good.
Exactly. But it wouldn't be fair to put like 11.9 million from 2025. That was a very high number of a bunch of projects that kind of got paid off this year, right? That were in the works for many years.
The average cameras and the plants, multiple millions of that.
Right.
We would go down below zero if we ran it out at 12 million.
Another question. So on the 35 million, thinking back to the kind of presentations we got with Randy building up to that, it seemed like there was really two types in my mind, maybe I'm wrong, so help me out, of kind of anticipated savings from that. One was like the investment grade audit, which was a kind of guaranteed amount of energy savings. Number two was kind of his math about just the avoided costs of maintaining an aging system. So, and they totaled more than this expense from my recollection, which was part of the reason we're doing this. So in addition to complying with the law, but also because it makes mathematical sense. So on those two types of either energy savings or avoided costs, where will we see those? Will that just be in a budgetary reduced need to spend in the future?
So last week we had a 500,000 on the list of options as far as pay fors go. And that's the expected energy savings, the cost of energy savings. The reality is though, every department is going to see those little bits in lower bills and it's going to get absorbed into their budget. So especially if our forecast right now proves true and we're needing to cut back every year, it'd be very difficult to come in and say we get 2,300 from you and 37,000 from you. And so we ended up taking that one off the list. We believe it will be there. Accounting wise,
So,
it'd
so
be a
Jeff,
nightmare to.
Yeah. I can speak to it. So that savings is not actual dollars, it's potential dollars. And it will get seen through the cost allocation plan that goes to each of the departments. So, yeah, because facility gets allocated out to everybody. So to say that we're gonna save $500,000 in this area is really not an appropriate way to look at it, because it's gonna get allocated out to everybody. And they're not actual. You can't actually set, that's our thought, is that we could save $500,000, but we're not gonna see an actual dollar.
I'm gonna get a check for $500,000.
So
We all
it's a
believe the
non-cash
savings is there.
event. So I didn't want to be banking on a non-cash event when we're talking about.
I think that makes sense from a how to pay for it perspective, but it's still a significant potential savings.
Yes.
So from a budgetary perspective, I'm just thinking, how do we reflect that or track it, or, rather than it just kind of vanishing into
It's a really good
departments.
point, and we will be monitoring that. So once the project is completed, Gil's team will be in a position of seeing what our true energy costs are, what they were. The management system of that is very sophisticated to allow for that. So we'll be able to see overall county campus, our energy bill was this last year. Post-project, it was this. So we'll be able to see it at that level. The way, as Commissioner Keeney was talking about, they all then, though those costs, because facilities is an internal service fund, they get allocated out to all the departments. So add some complexities. So answer your question, we'll be able to see it. Trying to figure out if we want to pull some dollars out of departments and stuff, that may be a little more complicated than we want to try to delve into. But we will not lose sight of it. Right, we will not lose sight of it. Yeah. So, as well as the reduction in our maintenance of the old system as well, to see both those, and both those will be reflected in the budget
In the
what budget
facilities
does.
operating budget, you should
Our
see line
maintenance
items.
costs should be going down.
Right.
Because we have the new system.
That's
So
not
like
track.
today, could Gil pull that out for us if we wanted to see the current maintenance costs from 24, 25? So that's
And
pretty
energy.
easy to pull out of the budget.
In 27, 28, hopefully we'll be seeing it going up and then a big drop as things come up.
So we can track that. I understand what you're saying about allocating it out to the savings to each department because they're paying their fair share. But we do have the ability to look at the annual costs, even monthly costs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even probably daily costs. Maybe not.
Well, workday will be
But on
running.
the energy costs.
Yeah, and we'll want to be monitoring this to ensure that facilities, as we look at the flat budget or a reduction in departments, that's not reflected within their amount, because that's a savings for the entire county. So you can't, so I don't want to have them bump up their department because they're saving all this money in energy savings. So I mean, that's why they'll be monitoring that, but that's why I hate to show a non-cash transaction at this point in time as cash.
I don't mean to go around in circles, but just trying to make sure I'm following. So with an investment grade audit that was done, right? Because we had that outside group kind of look at the system and run numbers. Is part of the point of that to identify what those guaranteed or savings are so that we could, if we wanted to, use that as a way of financing it on paper.
Yeah.
However, what we're talking about here is trying to create a plan that has more of an identified funding stream relative, or instead of just general fund savings, but then we hope to kind of reduce the pressure on the general fund through the management and budget look in the future. Is that kind of where we are?
Yeah, there was kind of two. The investment grade audit was one to inform us on where we should invest. Two, where the best reductions in energy, and other costs would come from. And then, yes, by signing up for them, the company is essentially guaranteed those the savings will realize. And as far as financing it, there was an option where the commissioners could have decided, let's just go and finance this entire thing through that company. And they would then be utilizing those savings as their financing considerations and all of it. You opted not to do that. We are managing it ourselves and implementing it. But yes, that's you captured. Thank you.
So I guess we're looking for a decision point if you're ready today.
You want to do Shrek first and then go into
Yes, thank you, I forgot.
So Ron, on the next slide, this is, these are some of the questions that were being asked last week to kind of get an overview of what is informing on Shrek's request to the county. So hopefully it's a little more self-explanatory. The Shrek had established about a $20 million reserve balance dedicated towards the new facility. The purchase of the building was about $9.11 million. That was kind of a funny thing for the seller to come back and offer 911 as the counter. It's kind of neat. They've then spent about almost $3 million in ongoing costs related to their progressive design contract, other sort of purchases and whatnot. So present day, they have just about an $8 million reserve balance. All right. So if you jump down to the 22.9 million.
Can I pause you, Scott?
Yeah.
Remaining reserve balance, is that only earmarked for facilities or is it total reserve?
Only for facilities. They've got they do a similar thing to the county where they put X number of months of operating costs aside to have for one-time rainy day events. And then they have some in unrestricted as well. That's not been dedicated to a particular purpose. This was the biggest one. They had a CAD balance as well, but that's been utilized for reserves. So they had about an $8 million balance. Their remaining costs on the project were about $23 million. We talked about the microwave purchase. They do have a need for replacing their microwave system in about 3 to 5 years. But because of the need to spend these funds down within a certain period of time based on our covenants and our bonding, the rolling in the microwave dollars into the overall financing didn't make a lot of sense. So the recommendation was take the remaining $8 million. Shrek will do a board action, I think actually did last week, to transfer those funds into a microwave reserve. So essentially it zeroes out the reserve balance that was for the building. There's still a $23 million need. And the Shrek board is dedicating $3 million of unrestricted fund balance towards that $23 million remaining project cost, which then comes up with an ask for the Board of County Commissioners for financing $20 million and adding it to our bonding as a separate series. Hopefully that provides a little more clarity into how the walk through how we got the numbers, how Shrek got the numbers.
And I'm sorry if I missed the presentation last week. Do you have more detail on what Shrek's total reserves are? Like, I know you said there's various funds. Do you have that information to share? Like, how much is left in there?
I don't know off the top of
Restricted
my head.
fund balance.
They have it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can ask them for it.
And then like the total, you have this project cost estimate, like where does that come from?
That's from their progressive design bid team, similar to what we did for our crisis relief absorbing center. They went through and.
So it's
got
a
it all in.
42,913 total cost with the purchase.
Of the yeah, it's about 11 and
So it's kinda-
22, 23, so about 34 million. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, 34 million. Add the building purchase, the additional facility expenses and the remaining project total.
So wait, so the total amount to, it's just hard for me to follow. The total amount to renovate is,
Total amount to renovate is the 2.9 million and the 22.9 million.
okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million. Okay.
25 for renovation, 9 for building. We're just getting about what?
So I'm just trying to follow here, the project cost to renovate the building is about $26 million.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's, we have that in hand from a contractor? From bids
Yeah.
or,
No, they're not doing bids because it's a progressive design, it's an alternative delivery. So they're using one firm, work with an owner's rep to develop their cost estimates through a validation phase. And through that validation phase, that's what it came back to, the $26 million. That's including soft costs, owner's rep, design, geotech, all that sort of stuff. That has to be.
does that include all the phone upgrades and
Includes
technology?
Technology, the new radio tower out there, all their consoles, yes,
So
everything.
it's not just stuff in the building, it's stuff outside the building as well. Do you have that? Just so you could share with us the
Yeah,
the overall?
if I don't have an email of it, I can get it from, I'll look for it. I'll get it from Shrek, if I don't have a copy of it. It's a fairly detailed, voluminous document, but has a lot of the evaluation there.
And just on the timeline, so they've purchased the building, that's done,
I got to purchase that in December.
and then would they need to complete all the renovations before moving in?
Yep.
Okay, so
Right
they're
now, they're-
still in the old facility.
Still in the old facility, they are in the process of moving. Some of their employees are now working from home effective today. Some more of their employees will move to a leased space in October. And then the remainder of the employees will leave the space by December 31. They will work out the backup center up in Fire District 9. And the building is expected to be completed by October-ish next year. Then I'll move in.
And that's because the cities gave like a deadline to be out of the facility?
It was a kind of a co-working, Shrek knew that they needed space to be able to hire staff and train people. And so it was the timeline they worked together, so Shrek would be leaving spaces in increments, so that they would have the ability to have additional space takedown. I don't think the city will need the entire space, but I don't know what their plans are.
Okay, so they have to lease another space for some of the employees.
Shrek has to, yes.
Okay. Or that's a choice.
Well, it's a choice to allow the transition plan of employees and space give back so that the city can have it for their PSAP operation.
And those are in the operating costs, those aren't in this capital cost,
Nothing's in, it's all operating.
That's more helpful, thank you.
Okay. Now that we knew what the questions were, I thought we'd come back and be more clear.
I would appreciate knowing the unrestricted fund balance too, as we're thinking about payback and all that stuff.
And we have, Shrek is actually on our schedule. Coming to
I
present.
think it's kind of later in October.
October 20, we did the outside agencies towards the end.
I'll get those, I'll send you all over the building validation reports that show the cost estimates as well as the recent update of what their reserve balances are. Yes, yeah. They've already, they adopted some budget amendments to reflect some of these transfers last Thursday.
So how much approximately per year then would they be paying back for the debt service?
That was a couple weeks ago. in a presentation that Scott Bauer, our financial advisor, gave us, there was a page dedicated to $20 million
Okay, and then
over 20 years for Shrek as an estimated
I can
payment.
look back at that, okay. Just an estimate, I was just wondering, again, to your point,
1.5.
Commissioner.
Was that
just-
1.6 was in my mind?
Yeah.
So I believe we were at
Something like that.
1.88, we're looking at 25. So I think it was about 1.6 if you're looking at 20 years.
I just think it's important to know if they have the capacity to pay that, because there, I mean, there's gonna be changes in, I guess, in the system and potentially two PSAPs. So what will that do to the financial sustainability of Shrek to continue to pay back the debt?
And remember too, as Deanna briefed us, our bond counsel, we will be entering into an interlocal agreement with Shrek, county will, that they'll be obligated to make those payments. That will come through user fees. If there's not enough funds elsewhere in the system, we will do that. So it is our guaranteed way of getting paid on those. They'll have to pledge for the repayment of it. So.
Not dissimilar from agreements we have with the Public Facilities District or the bonds we've issued on their behalf.
They have a
Yeah, very,
guarantee.
very similar, yep, guaranteed.
I mean, I think the difference is that we are paying, I mean, the county that comes out of our general fund is the fees we pay to Shrek. So if they have to increase fees, that comes out of our general fund. So I mean, that's just, I mean, we can't really escape it. It's a little bit different with I think with the PFD, we're not necessarily using general fund money to subsidize, right, the operations of the PFD.
We don't have any obligation of a user fee with the
Right,
Public Facilities
right.
District, but
So that's
for
the difference.
dispatching services, the sheriff does have that need from Shrek.
Do they present do they give an annual report, Shrek, on the budget?
That's what they're coming in.
And that, the previous report, it would have kind of what the general revenue picture is from 3 sources. Does it show the user fees by jurisdiction? Can't remember. Go back and look.
In their annual report, I believe it does. It shows it in a roll up on their financials, and then it shows the individual by the jurisdiction as well.
I'll just take a look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
And again,
also
that's
have their details.
part of what the Shrek board is doing, is determining your user fees versus level of service. Maybe it's if you want to consider user fees lower,
Yeah.
then your level of service changes.
Your read ahead package, you'll also see for bonding a new schedule that Roy
Scott Bauer.
Scott Bauer, wrong name, sorry. Scott Bauer put together. Based on feedback from last week, so it'll be selling the bonds early December. And it'll be also made a couple appropriate name changes on the distribution list, Melissa Wage updating from Jason Link, who used to be in that role. So there's a couple of cleanup things there. So I guess my question to the board is the board ready for us to move forward? And tell Deanna and Scott Bauer to start doing the stuff that needs to be done.
I would say they can start the process. We can make a final next week. Since there seems to be some more questions, but I think I would have them go ahead and get started with the process on the bonds, you know, the documents, because we will be selling bonds. So
We will give that direction to them.
I don't think we have any way out of the not doing the plain buildings.
Right.
No, that's
Yes. So I mean, I think they can start the process and
dollar amounts can be changed
yes.
easily.
And I think Shrek, I mean, I'm comfortable, but
We'll get a few more questions answered on Shrek.
so we can make our final decision, but I would have to go ahead and get started.
That's everything for us today, unless you have something more.
No.
Thanks for the pretty,
Over
thanks
here.
for our start. Very nice.
Yeah, I like the really big piece of paper. What are you saying about our ability to read these documents?
It's very helpful for my eyes.
Yeah, I know. I've been home.
A
Thank
big
you.
folder stuffed from Jeff and just put it in the Jeff.
Heather, welcome.
Morning. Just wanted to give you guys an update. We've received our initial communication from the Department of Commerce on the budget appropriation we received for the PFAS filtration systems. They are just seeking our initial contact information, and then we should receive our working papers. Initially, were seeking some direction as to whether we were going to administer this award or if we were going to do a direct pass through to the health district.
Our thought was based on the conversation last week, where they seem to be keeping a ledger at the state on what entity has paid what amount into solutions. We'd recommend keeping it with the county as far as administration goes, although there probably would be a sub-grant award to the health district to do the work, but that would keep the full dollar amount in the county's column, so to speak, when it looks at what entities have put what resources into the solutions. So we would be expecting that the health district would be doing most of the work, but it would be as a pass through the county.
So does the health district have the capacity then? Have we had a conversation about having the capacity to manage kind of the highly technical work of I guess I'm still wondering are we going to, I know that the idea was installation of wellhead filtration systems. And there needs to be a lot of work done to look into that and identify the best technology. And so they would just be managing the contract of, I see Mr. French has a comment. Cause it seems like, somewhat in their wheelhouse, but a little bit outside.
Closer to their wheelhouse than ours.
Yes, a little closer.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've been working with Dr. Velasquez, for a couple of months now on the task force and the scope and trying to work through how and who will get the systems first, since we didn't get fully funded. We did have our first task force meeting last week, and Heather Arnold was there. I thought the meeting went extremely well, quite frankly, better than I had expected. There was really good conversation about how to identify who would get the systems first, and Dr. Velasquez is working on a metric to illustrate that. We'll have another task force meeting either the 17th or the 24th to present that to the group and get ratification. The conversation at this point is a stratification of who has the highest level of PFAS and who has existing medical conditions that should be treated a little bit higher priority than somebody that just has PFAS present. For instance, a new infant or a senior that's got a medical condition and stuff. So we came out of there with about 6 different tasks to perform, and we are working to address each one of those between the doctor and our staff. The one thing that you need to keep in mind about the grant is that it is a capital grant, and so there are going to be needs for other things other than capital, for instance, testing. It was also suggested that we do a navigation program similar to what was done with the Gray and and Oregon fires and stuff, so that you've got that one-on-one communication. But the grant and putting out the POET systems is a contractual relationship. So it's a matter for the health district to do the RFPs and then contract with the provider to install the system. So there's still some work to be done with regard to guarantees and maintenance and a variety of other things, but I'm confident the task force will work through that. And between Dr. Velasquez, myself, and Brooke Beeler with Ecology, we're working together to try and evolve this program so that it is one equitable and efficient and lays the foundation for going back to the legislature to get more additional funding. There is a need for some additional testing and maybe the navigation program that the grant will not cover. So we do need to have a conversation about how do we cover those additional costs so that we can implement the grant. You know, I think I talked. I'm not sure who I talked to. I think it might have been Scott, but if not, I apologize. About risk management and the possibility of insurance covering part of it. But the I don't expect that there'll be quick disbursements from the airport to cover this. They're still going through all of their mechanisms with the Department of Ecology and their legal team, but that's an issue that needs to be addressed. So that's my summary. Thank you.
I think we have the initial conversation with Commerce. We don't have a scope of work yet. We don't have an agreement to us. We don't know all the details. We presume some of the details just from ongoing conversations. We're not experts in installing these systems, if that's what the money is used for. Health district probably isn't an expert either. But I think it's worthy of a conversation as to if the board wants to receive the funds and subcontract them out. Is that health district? Is that just us RFPing for a company to programmatically manage and install these sort of things? So not a decision needed today, but I think it's good for those that are on the health board to have some conversations, is because it is health related. Does it make sense for that body of work to stay with the health district? Or does it make sense for the body of work to stay with the county? Either of us are going to have to do RFPs and find companies to go in and install these systems and fine tune them, et cetera, et cetera.
One of the things that I am very comfortable with is that there will be a ledger sheet that will have 3 columns on it, and it'll be the airport, the city of Spokane, and Spokane County. And so right now we are in the lead with $7.5 million, but that could change. But that's one of the reasons why the recommendation is to have the grant come to the county and then have us identify how we're going to administer it. Thank you.
One thing Heather's reminded me several times, just want to remind the group, it is from the capital budget of the state. So it is a capital grant. We can't be doing operational type services stuff with it. That's except as it is to implement the capital side.
And the likelihood is that we probably will not see a contract until mid to end October. By the time we either subcontract or get through the RFP process, we're talking, we'll be at the end of the year. So before we know it, will be at the start of the year before work can actually even begin the thought of, on the ground work. Which means we're down to 18 months. This money ends June 30th, 2027. We're already talking about whether or not we need another ask for the next legislative session. that money too will end June 30th, 27. So we've got to get on the ball, make the decisions. Get this money on the ground before we lose it, considering where the state is at its own, in dealing with its own budget issues.
One of the members of the task force is Eco Water Systems, which is installed probably the majority of the POET systems on the West Plains. And they were at the task force meeting and indicated that they can install these systems about probably about 50 a month. So, you know, you're looking at about 2.5 months for 120 systems to be installed. But that's after you do the RFPs and the selection process and all that. And that's assuming that they're the contractor that gets the award. There's several contractors on the West Plains now that are providing POET systems. I apologize for interrupting, but I just wanted to make sure that I added on to what Heather was saying. Thank you.
I had Commissioner French, what is your best guess then on how many POET systems could be installed reasonably with this the 18.5, knowing that we have to keep back a little funding for administration?
By the time you take out and some of this is assumptions, but if the Department of Commerce withholds 10% and the health department needs 10%, then that gets you down to $6 million. And $6 million at 50,000 a pop, that's 120 units. And so that's the initial is 120.
Right.
The grant request, if you remember, was sort of 259 systems. And what we learned at the task force meeting is that there are other systems now that have tested positive. So the number is higher than 259, but we don't know how much higher.
Got it. So sorry, the request was 18.5. We got 7.5. And now you're saying that there'd probably be even a higher need as we move forward. So the other part of my question was the testing piece, Commissioner French. Is there any, I know EPA and Ecology did the initial testing. I think it was kind of one-time money from EPA that Ecology implemented. Was there any discussion at the task force about other federal or state sources for the testing piece?
So the EPA is tapped in terms of testing money, and Ecology is tapped until the legislature refunds or refills their coffers. So in the absence of additional funding from the state, there's no money available for testing. That's why one of the requests for the task force was to provide some source of funding for testing.
Because they may have to go back and retest some of the wells and do some other new tests was there a discussion about like prioritizing households based on like income? I know you talked about health issues, those who may have higher health needs.
The two criteria that Dr. Velasquez and the group agreed on was level of contamination and health risk. And so Dr. Velasquez felt comfortable he could create a metric that would help identify, and rank those two criteria and come back with a list. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about at the next task force meeting is the metric and the math and the magic to get to whatever that number is.
That may take a lot more. I mean, that's going to take some time though for people to self-identify some of their own personal health issues too. I mean,
well, that
I agree. I agree with the intention behind it. I just think that's going to take some time and probably like somebody identified to go meet with people, discuss these things to come up with that data.
that was why the navigation program was recommended, because it is going to require a one-on-one contact with the folks that have got contamination in their wells, and understanding the health issues. The one thing that having Dr. Velasquez there is that, you know, he provides a level of assurance and confidentiality with regard to the medical situation. But at some point, there is going to have to be some revealing of medical conditions if you want to be at the top of that list.
Thanks for the update, Commissioner French. I was just wondering, with regard to commerce and ecology, at some point it was mentioned that ecology was gonna write this or determine the scope or something for the use of the fund. So is that a barrier still?
So that's what I was told by
What's the status?
dealer,
Okay,
and that was 2 months ago.
okay.
I don't know, have any information since then.
I can share with you that in the meeting that Frank, Dr. Velasquez, myself, and Brooke Beeler had, that we went in to try and between the three of us get to that metric and the description of how the grant would actually be structured. And that was one of the reasons why, you know, the task force, that's one of the early challenges for the task force, is to try and define that process so that when I talked to Brooke, she said she's going to try and keep it very broad, because quite frankly, a lot of this stuff we're going to be discovering as we go through the process. There is no roadmap, so there'll be some evolution. So she's going to try and recommend that the language be very broad in its nature.
And did ecology attend the first task force meeting too?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Brooke was not there, but Bree was, and actually provided some input on behalf of ecology.
Okay, thank you.
So a question mark is this idea of like a navigator position that could be housed at the health district, maybe even just a temporary position. And how would that potentially get paid for?
Paid for is the issue because.
To work with people yeah, right. Okay, well, I mean, those are good conversations. Commissioner French, thanks for the updates.
Yep. Here to serve.
Kind of on the subject of sharing information or getting information from Washington State Department of Ecology, they have requested the county to designate the project coordinator that serves as the county's designated representative for the site. So I said I would talk to the board on Tuesday and try to provide a name this afternoon.
And we, Kyle and I chatted about it as well, and the recommendation would be Ben Radabo. Ben was attending the task force meeting. He's got familiarity around this stuff, so it makes sense to have him as the point of contact for him. So
Sounds good.
In terms of the capital project or just in general?
In general, with
Okay, I mean, the
the
capital grant,
potentially liable party for.
just for all
kinds of
correspondence.
cleanups.
Yes, to everything.
But also
Yes,
for the
everything.
grant, yeah.
Commissioner French?
Of the 30-some people on the original list of task force members, we probably had close to 25 in attendance at the first task force meeting. The only ones that were not present were our state and federal delegates, state representatives, and obviously the two senators and congressmen. They were not expected to be there, but everybody else was. So it was good attendance. Thank you.
I guess, I mean, the question really is are we going to have the health district administer this or us? So I think it's the health district is what we're.
Technically us, but passed it to them.
And is the administrative costs allowed?
We should be allowed our 15%.
The total, would it be the health district and us splitting that or what?
That would be in
A decision.
Decision point, yes.
I mean, I think it makes sense if we can figure out this navigation piece. It would make it, and if that's gonna be housed at the health district, then it would make sense that they also are dealing with, once you identify the household that has the, you know, the higher priority needs, then it would make sense that everything would be coordinated, right, with the contractor that would then go install the system. Rather than us doing that separately from the navigation, but I think we need to keep talking about how does that piece happen? And is it part of the funding that we send to the health district from, you know, our contribution? I don't know. But we need to talk about it in our budget conversations at the health district, because, you know, it would probably be at least a, you know, 3/4 time person that'd be working on this project. If you're gonna go interview people and get all this information and identify who's gonna get the systems, it's a lot of work.
Commissioner French.
Well, and that, quite frankly, one of the reasons why I was hoping that the health district could do this is because you've got not only the confidence that Dr. Velasquez brings to the process, but also that medical knowledge that nobody at the county has, and that's going to be very critical as we go through and identify who will and will not, and when and how, and all that kind of stuff. The health district is used to dealing with water and stuff, so this is not out of their bailiwick. But I was also thinking it's another revenue stream for the health district. So, thank you.
I don't think it's really revenue for the health district, because it's gonna probably cost more than than they're gonna be able to recoup in administrative costs. So, yeah, I think, my concern is like on a navigator, how much is that? Commissioner French, you already committed to attorney fees, that now can't come out of the grant. So, I mean, I think we gotta figure out where these additional costs are gonna come from. How do you communicate? The health district has the communication department that can handle it, but can't come out of, it'd have to come out of the indirects, not out of the grant. So would it be more efficient that way? I mean, I think there's just, things to think about, but I think the health district is the one to administer the program, so I would like to see it have it pass through us to them. And we're gonna have to work out the rest of the details.
So can I clarify, I think we're all saying the same thing as I'm understanding it, that we would receive the dollars. It would be contracted to the health district from us, to Commissioner French's point, to ensure it's on our side of the ledger, so to speak, but they would do the programmatic piece, and there's still details to be fleshed out as to exactly how that would work.
They pass back the info to Heather. Heather would be one reporting her
Right.
team, reporting back to the state.
Okay, very
It'd
good.
just be on the reporting side.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, the navigation idea sounds like a really good idea. So I'd like to figure out how that could happen. It's just a question of pay for it detail. So glad that good ideas are coming out of those meetings. That's good.
We have a budget committee meeting tomorrow. We've got Commissioner Cuny and myself, so I think we just need to start having some conversations with the health district about what would the cost be to do these things. And Dr. B, so.
I don't think they're gonna know tomorrow, because there's.
No, but in the next month, as we're discussing the budget, they have not costed out anything yet in mind. It's that we were just starting these conversations.
And Commissioner French, are you suggesting that navigation and additional testing could be an additional request for the state in the session? That might be a few months out still, but is that your idea as one likely source of looking for those funds?
Yes, I was told by Representative Volz and another representative that while they were not able to fully fund the request, the fact that they provided some funding would indicate that the door is open for another application. So I was going to suggest that we do submit another grant application to fill out the remaining of the initial and whatever other future or additional systems we need to be focused on so that we can maximize what we can get from the state. So, but to answer your question, it would be not only capital grant, it would also be operational too.
Maybe some of that operational could flow down through EOH or something. Cause they're the ones that have that small little grant to do those under sink filters and such. But, yeah, not having testing, a pot of money for testing is very challenging. So we'll need to figure out how we advocate for that.
Well, and there was money for testing. It's just they've gone through it.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, and as they test, they discover more wells that they need to test and stuff. So that's been the challenge.
So is a next step on the Board of Health, on the Health District side, would be to present some sort of proposal to them about, and then have them get back to us about the cost of, for instance, a navigator position. So I'd be happy to work on that, Commissioner French.
Yeah, and we might be able to garner some wisdom from the long-term recovery group for the Gray Fire and the Oregon Fire, because they did have navigators that worked with folks to get through paperwork. Now, I don't see this as being as intensive as what we had to do for the fire. I mean, there's really a couple basic questions you got to get answers for, but other than that, the rest of it's then going to be in the health district and administering that program.
Okay, well, I will follow up with Health District leadership and what the cost might look like for them administering and then follow up. Because we are having all sorts of budget meetings in the next couple weeks, and they could maybe give us some more information and we can figure out how we could do that, because that's the challenge. I don't know how we're gonna, to your point, Heather, to effectively administer the program and identify which wells are going to get the capital funds to, we have to have this kind of almost operational side of it. Working with individuals on the West Plains, and that can't come out of these funds.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to start with the wells that tested the highest with PFAS.
And that was like almost
Build
a year
in
ago.
the,
Yeah.
build in the medical piece after we have the navigators. Because otherwise, we're gonna come to a point where the money's not on the ground, we haven't done this. And the gentleman from Eco Water Systems explained that, at least with their systems, they have to go in and do testing before they put the systems in to make sure that they're putting the right system in. Because if there's other contaminants in the water, if there's hard water, those affect which system they use, which filter they use, because those things will break down the filters further. That testing, I think we could consider part of the capital project, because they need that to ensure they use the right system. But the places that aren't tested yet, or that need further testing after the units are installed, is the testing that's up in the air for where we're going to find those funds.
Well, I'll follow up and report back, but I think I agree that if the health district, it's probably a appropriate place that have more of the toxics and medical expertise than we do here at the county.
Okay, that's gonna take us to miscellaneous. Spokane County Regional Interlocal Leadership Structure Agenda Approval. Schrills agenda.
Scrolls, whatever.
Schrill.
So it's at the end of the agenda package.
Meeting is coming up on September 12th, so if anyone has any change to the agenda, or doesn't agree with it, let me know.
Sorry, September 12th. Oh. Yes. Yep.
Doing formal approvals on that, we're just making sure everyone's aware of it. Okay. Or it shows up on the agenda. I don't know. You'll determine that for me.
Got it.
Okay. Count to it. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide you with a quick update, as you all are aware. Would you like me to come up?
Yeah, yeah, can you at least, or just come right here, then you can see you.
As most of you are aware, there's a ongoing operator strike that's affected a lot of road construction projects in the region. It's affecting about 3 states. It's the size of the group that is still on strike. Nothing has really changed in the last week or two. Tomorrow will be the first hope of some improvement. Tomorrow they have an all-day negotiating session set up, so crossing our fingers all goes well. If that does go well, we'll be okay. We aren't having too significant of impacts to our project as of yet. If they don't make agreement tomorrow, we'll have to shut down the Hatch Road project. All of the underground and subgrade work is done, so it's ready for surfacing, which is the work that is impacted by the strike. El Chattaway will be moving along. It's delayed by about a week as they're pulling a crew together. That's going to go regardless of what happens on Wednesday. And we will have Country Homes still shut down. It's on suspension. We're finishing up some sewer work over about the next 10 days. But then that'll be on shutdown until there's resolution. So crossing our fingers tomorrow, we get some good news, but after that, I don't know if it's unsuccessful when the next session will be scheduled.
Has Country Homes been impacted already? Or are you saying it could be?
Yeah, it's not horribly impacted because we have the sewer work to do, but we were planning on doing a lot of work in parallel. So the project has been extended.
Thank you.
Yeah, hope for good news tomorrow.
Can you send us an email if there's good news tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Let's see, I'm gonna do the position last. Pat, anything else? Commissioner Kearns? Oh, Pat, sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right.
Hard to see who's. So, Pat Bell.
Good morning, commissioners. Quick communications update for you. In your inboxes last week was a new refreshed 1-pager for the behavioral health expansion. I'd like to get that finalized this week, following up on your direction that we create or update the webpage for the Crisis Relief Stabilization Center. So we'll have that as an additional update to the commissioners' programs and projects or initiative page. Provide that information for the public, help raise some additional awareness of the project as we go from planning into the next steps. So take a look at that. Feel free to send feedback to myself and Charissa, and we'll get that turned around quickly. On the press release front, we do have a press release ready outlining the big attractions at the fair, Discover the Fun. and the ribbon cutting ceremony for Friday. Martha Lou will be sending that release unless we have any feedback probably tomorrow, and then be doing call downs to the media, try and get folks to the ribbon cutting. As you probably all remember, media likes to set up there early in the morning and do live shots on the opening day of the fair. So the opening will be getting coverage. I've also had one reporter express interest in attending the COG meeting. We haven't typically sent out a release for that, but just based on the agenda items, I do anticipate media interest. So we'll let you know the morning of if we have cameras or journalist reporters joining us for that session. Going into next week, we'll also have a press release jointly with GSI, or be contributing topical and theme information for State of the County. So our team is heads down on putting the finishing touches on presentation and working with the chair on her speech draft. That's the update here.
Thank you. Okay, then filling the interim Spokane County prosecutor position. So I think Gina sent out the process to everybody. She's handed me a hard copy, and then Ashley sent out this morning the questions. So we will be doing interviews next Monday, no, Tuesday afternoon during our 2 o'clock. So if we want to make any changes to any of this, I would say read through it today and get us the information, and we can make any changes that we need to. We need to know ASAP, because if there are any changes to questions, we want to get those to Ashley so we have time to accumulate those. So I would say by tomorrow morning. So that way we can get everything out to the candidates so they have it. So Commissioner Kearns.
Yeah, no, and I just wanted to, I mean, my recollection, I think when we did the treasurers, is that this is a bank of questions, correct? We're not going to narrow down ahead of time and say, these are the, 10 questions or so we're going to ask. I think we kept the large bank of all these questions, and then, kind of as we go down the list, I think we also left ourselves the flexibility that if we needed follow-up questions, we could add those in, but not kind of locking us in like we do for some other appointed positions that we've done for different boards, or the health board, where we ask folks just the same set of questions. Is that correct? Is that what we were planning on?
I think we had discussions on both. So I would just not like to have 30 questions that I got to try to manage who's asking which questions. So I know who, as the chair, I'm trying to watch who's doing what, which questions have been asked and by whom. Because then we actually, once we did it the first time, everyone kind of stuck with their same questions.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm just trying to make it so it's reasonable for me to try to, figure it out on the fly. So I'd like to not have 30 questions. I'd like to, I'm happy to have it be, more than what we think, but not flipping through 3 pages to try to figure out who's asking what question.
Yeah, and I know that there's always the risk. You've got some folks that that really expand on their answers, and then you've got other folks that keep their answers very, very short and condensed, and then you run out of questions.
Right. So we need more questions.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I would. I mean, I don't know. I'd throw out. I think it's good to have a bank of questions if we are going to kind of jump around. Of us, make sure as they are on the list, they're numbered. And before you ask the question, say, I'm going to ask number 8, or I'm asking number 17. That way we can cross them off the list, and we don't end up asking folks the same, or getting mixed up and no, that's a question that's already been asked and all that. So, but, and I think it also, if we keep too small of a list of questions, then you run the risk of, if we only send them, a list of 8 questions and say, you'll be asked these, then they rehearse those questions and, you kind of lose that sort of off the cuff type answers that I think we would hope to hear from the candidates, rather than something that's been rehearsed multiple times over the course of a week of them getting the questions as well.
I believe we had one person who rehearsed all of them.
And we knew, and it was very clear to us that they did. So, yeah.
That'll be their choice.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to remember, did we try and keep the interviews for the treasurer position? Did we interview for about 30 to 40 minutes and then had time for other kind of, can't remember how long we
I
ended
can't
up going.
remember how long was it?
Did we do 45-minute segments with like space in between?
15-minute break.
Looks like they're, oh, I see. Looks like there were 30-minute interviews, 20 minutes for questions and 5 minutes at the beginning and end for opening and closing statements. And then don't recall whether you had time in between. You may have just cycled the next person up afterwards.
Did build a little bit of time, so
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a buffer just in case,
Okay.
but they were pretty much all there ready and waiting, so we don't.
Yeah, I mean, the maximum you're probably gonna get through in a 40-minute kind of question and answer period, it's probably like 20 questions, and that's if people are not telling their whole life story. I say that just because, sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you get a little.
We'll know you are interviewing lawyers. so-
Yeah, all right. So Phil's
So
like a lot
double
of.
whatever your expectation is.
Double it. Well, anyway, I like the idea of having a bank and then we just, I thought as long as we say the number and make sure we track ourselves that we're not gonna ask the same question twice, I think we're not gonna get through 27. But I think that it's, there's some good ones in here. I would reword a couple. So you're just asking, where do you want that feedback to go?
To Ashley
To Ashley, okay.
by tomorrow morning, so she can
Yep.
get the list out.
Will do.
Just to recap the process a little bit, the interviews are by choice. You don't have to do them, but if you decide to do the interviews, they have to be in an open public meeting. You can ask the candidates to voluntarily step out, so they're not in there hearing all the questions ahead of time. The board can then break into executive session, evaluate the candidates. You have to be careful during the executive session not to take any kind of vote, but then you can join back into an open session to make your decision.
I think we'd want to state that there is the possibility of action to be taken at the end of the executive session.
Yes. Just like last time.
Yes.
We may wanna ask the other candidate to step out during the other person's. Not so that they don't get the questions, but so that the second person doesn't benefit from hearing the first person's answers to everything. That seems like it's kind of a standard practice in any interview. And when we've done like airport board people, they came in one by one. I think it makes sense for that reason to do personally. So,
They can all be online though. For the public meeting.
yeah, I'm just thinking if they're both physically here, one of them could just wait outside while the other one's interviewed.
We just had someone in the back. Us.
Yeah, just my thought.
Because they can go online for a live feed.
Yes, they could.
So, yeah, I mean. I don't care either way, whatever. So, Commissioner French,
How would you suggest that we identify the order? Who's gonna get interviewed first and second, yada, yada?
Like pick straws or,
Fine.
yeah,
drawing.
it should be probably
I-
random.
I think what you did last time, maybe a recommendation is in the order that you received them from the party. It's not the only way you can do it. There's other ways you can do it.
Commissioner Kearns.
Yeah, I've been a part of several of these as a candidate and as a commissioner, and yeah, no, there's I've seen it done many different ways. Sometimes it's been a random draw, just kind of luck of the draw. Other times we've started with the third choice of the PCOs, then the second, and then the first choice goes last. And I've seen it the other way, where the first choice of the PCOs goes first, second goes second, and third goes last. So I don't really think there is a standard. It is up to us. I think like Scott said, but I mean I've seen it done every possible way you can imagine. So
Do you have a preference?
I honestly like to start with the third one, the PCO's third pick, have them go first, have the second one go second, and have the PCO's first pick go last. That's just, I've seen it done more often that way, but I have seen it done every way possible. But that's just my preference, but doesn't mean it's the right one.
Are you okay with doing it that way?
Yeah.
Commissioner French?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It seemed to work in the past.
Especially with the third place candidate, making it clear he's a placeholder for 3 names and not seriously contesting the position. Might make sense to have them go first.
We have, everyone's agreed that that's what we're not making a motion though, do we? Okay. Everyone's okay, then we'll go with 3, 2, 1. Okay. We will stick with the full bank. Everyone's just gonna need to state the number of the question, and we'll need to have that. And I'd almost make sure we have 3 forms, 3
sets
of questions, so we can cross off as we go for each one. And I'll just do the welcome, and I'll just start down the line going through questions.
And just a reminder, as information comes in that's emailed to individual commissioners, send that to Gina so she can put it in the packet so everyone receives it.
Sounds good. Commissioner Kearns.
Nope, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Matt jumped in. I was just gonna say, make sure you forward all the pro and con emails to Gina.
Sounds good. Okay.
One thing, I have made contact with all of the jurisdictions that have currently expired interlocal agreements for scraps. So I've either got a person live or left a voicemail for them. So that was the ask of the commissioners, just to follow up with them first, have an attempt at a live conversation. Some of the mayors I got a hold of, some of the city administrators I got a hold of. And I told them our next steps. This week, we'll be sending them the revised interlocal agreements and scheduling some time in the next couple of weeks to have conversations with all the jurisdictions on. So it's a quick update for you.
Anything else?
Miscellaneous. I just wanted to report back on the Bar Association letter. That I talked about last week. I reached out to Representative Ormsby just to try to learn a little bit more about the process for judicial resources being authorized by the state. And at least based on his initial feedback, it was, yes, it would be a county request to the legislature. It would probably go through, I think he said, whatever the Law and Justice related committee said there would be a path to doing that if it's something the county wanted to do. Sounds like we would have to reach out to make that request. So wanted to share that because it was brought up last week.
Reach out to make the request.
I think so. I was gonna get more information about that, as what exactly does that mean? But yes, that's what I got so far. And then I just note that we got an email from, I think, Judge Zamblin this morning on that topic, which I haven't had a chance to fully read yet. So.
And I'll just state that Friday is the COG, so see everybody at the opening of the fair and at the COG on Friday morning.
So I did briefly scan the comments we got from Judge Zamblin. And it looks like she just had some suggestions for if just clarifying some things in the letter based on past history and stuff that I haven't been around for, but would we have some time to maybe suggest looking at some edits before we make a decision on the letter then? Sorry, I didn't want to move past it.
It's on the 2 o'clock consent agenda, so we can always strike it.
We just got that this morning, so I thought I just would like to.
We had the letter.
Right, we just got her comments this morning because she's been out of town, so I just was hoping before we make a decision, could we put that off for a week just to consider if there's any other edits we want to make?
Your decision, you're looking at me, it's definitely possible. You just need to strike it from the agenda or continue it to next week.
Can we just, well, I just think it would be good if we could continue it, and I just would like to look at some of her comments. I don't think there's anything that she's disagreeing on, it's just, well, maybe different understanding of some of the commitments that the commissioners have made in the past to the court. So I just would like to read that over, and so I may make a motion just to continue it for 1 week.
Okay. We've already continued, I mean, we did continue it for a week, so, I mean, last week we chose to strike it, and give another week, so at some point we just gotta be voting on it. So anyway, Commissioner Kearns.
My recollection to the letter, I mean, I read it a couple weeks ago when I thought we were gonna draft it. I was gonna actually hand deliver a draft to the Bar Association president for a meeting that they didn't actually make it to. But I mean, essentially my recollection is the gist is this is a financial cost we can't incur right now. I mean, correct? That's sort of the gist of the letter at this point. And we lay out the cost. We say we are committed to working our way to this, but there's a large cost that with our budget outlook we can't absorb at this point. But I mean, what edits do we make to the letter that changes that?
Well, I'll just say that it looks like Judge Zamblin, the part of the letter says essentially, we hope the courts continue to improve themselves. And it cites one of the reports that was done. I think Judge Zamblin saying they've already done some of those things that we asked them to do in the letter. So I think there's some question about whether some of the suggestions or pointers that we give the courts are really relevant or useful because they've already been done. So things like that may help.
What? Okay, I was just quickly scanning the letter that came from Ashley Callan this morning, and I see there's a reference to the courtroom. I think that's kind of irrelevant to it. I mean, okay, back in 2006, some commissioners said we'd make the treasurer's office into a court space. It didn't happen, but we built out a courtroom because we gave them a 13th judge. I mean, whether somebody in the past said it would be located down the hall in the treasurer's space or a smaller one built out, like I don't see how that changes. I don't see how that's a relevant argument or how that changes anything. We built a courtroom for the 13th. It was down the hall instead of at the other end of the hall. So again, I'm just scanning it right now for the first time as we're talking. So, but I don't know. I mean, we've pushed out this. We've pushed out this letter already, but I mean.
Well, I think one of the things she says here is that the $1 million figure, if this is really about the dollar amount, she was just saying, why did we include the cost of a prosecutor or public defender? Those aren't necessarily court costs. There may be system costs, but they're not actually the cost of adding a new judge.
So you have to look at all those costs as we make those decisions though, because it affects the general fund because it all.
But I don't know if we can show that we added more prosecutors or defenders this year because we added a 13th judge last year. I don't think that we did that. So, I mean, I'm just saying, just want to provide accurate information to the bar association so that we, you know, these are just little things that I think could make
If
a
you have
difference.
changes.
Well, I could make a change.
2 o'clock.
Okay.
You are welcome to make a change, put that out there and we can look at
Okay.
debating that on the dais, you know.
And the other thing, this is a letter from the commissioners. This isn't a letter from Superior Court back to the Bar Association, is it?
You're right.
Yep.
It is.
It is from the commissioners.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, there was the next
I think-
topic.
Yeah, no, and I think we could debate this, you know,
Yeah.
wordsmith it to death. You know, so at some point we just gotta, are we saying what the intent is and getting that information back to the Bar Association?
And I just want to report back because I appreciated the 1 week.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned.
I don't think
That we
we,
don't have much clarification yet.
Well, I learned, I did something.
I don't recall the $1 million quote for a new judgeship in our letter. Just giving it right now. I don't think that's in our letter.
We don't give it a dollar amount. I thought we had a dollar amount in there.
There are dollar amounts. It's not $1 million though, that I think is referenced in it, not to my recollection. It was several hundred thousand, but I don't think each, but I don't think it's at $1 million each.
We give examples of costs that the board approved for the 13th judgeship, but I don't
Right.
think we.
And what's the total amount? Sorry, I don't have. the
Future
letter in
amounts.
front of me.
We don't even provide a total. It's, there's a new courtroom for 64,000, new furniture for a courtroom, 101. Facility staff and remodel, 27, new IT equipment,
I'm
6,000.
pretty sure we talk about the cost of the court reporter and
The next section is half a salary for a superior court judge, judicial assistant, court reporter, county clerk, process clerk.
so not the prosecutor Bones matter. Okay, thank you. I didn't have the letter in front of me.
To maybe make it easier for everybody, just resend the letter to the commissioners. So at their top of their email and they can take a look before the 2 o'clock.
Pat, could you resend your edited? I know I saw it and now it's like disappeared from my email. Can you resend the
1-pager?
the stabilization center update? Thank you.
Yep, we had Chrissy or Mary had reached out too on Friday, and asked for more time, so. We're good on that. One other thing about this letter, I think to the extent it gets resolved this afternoon, there is media interest. Amanda Rowley had a special last week on interviewing the courts. I think she interviewed the presiding and somebody from the Bar Association. So she'll probably be tuning in this afternoon for a conversation, just making you all aware of that. She was looking for comment last week. With the deferral, I was able to tell her the conversation would happen this week. But I think to the extent the intent of the board is made clear what the response is gonna be, that's what she's looking for. You know, yes, no, maybe, not now, later, whatever the intent is, I just wanted to clarify for you all. That was the gist of the media request. She might also ask for the chair and vice chair if they're available for an interview afterwards.
Nice shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, like the purple. over there.
We sent out a style memo
I know.
every.
Jeff, Hey, anything else?
No executive session items today.
Look at that. Okay, then at this point, we will adjourn for the morning and we will come back for our 2 o'clock. See everybody back at 2 o'clock.